Mikhail Gorbachev is one of those people who triggered a series of changes that perhaps he didn't anticipate. Maybe he paid his own political price for it.
We're joined now by Angela Stent, Senior Fellow at the Brookings Institution, who wrote the book about Vladimir Putin, Putin's World. As we look back, Angela, thank you for joining us. Mikhail Gorbachev is remembered as a hero here in America and throughout the West. How's he remembered in Russia?
Well, unfortunately, in Russia, he's remembered rather differently. I was in communication today with a friend of mine who knew him well, and there was a small gathering at the Gorbachev Foundation today where they were mourning him. But for many Russians, they see him as the man who allowed the Soviet Union to collapse, and the Soviet Union then, the post-Soviet Russia was no longer a great power. They remember the 1990s as a time of impoverishment, and they believe that he was partly responsible for that. You know, in a country where normally they are told that they need to have strong leaders, he's viewed as someone, he was not in the mold of a traditional Russian leader like Vladimir Putin is.
Those of us who remember his ideas about glasnost and perestroika were embedded in even the American lexicon during that period of time. But he's also, of course, the person who left, to your point, the scenario that led to the Russia we have now. What were the flaws in the exit plan from the Soviet Union, Angela, that led to modern Russia?
Well, first of all, Gorbachev never came to power thinking that he was going to preside over the collapse of the Soviet Union. He thought he was going to make it stronger by allowing people to criticize what was happening, by having freedom of speech, by releasing political prisoners. In the end, nothing was planned. He was hoping to have a referendum where all of the other republics of the Soviet Union, the non-Russian republics, would vote for a new kind of Commonwealth scheme. He never got to doing that. A KGB group tried to oust him in August of 1991. And between August and December, when the Soviet Union finally collapsed, he was just kind of struggling to remain in power. So I think one of the problems was it was a very chaotic end to the Soviet Union. And meanwhile, behind his back, Boris Yeltsin, who then succeeded him, met with the leaders of the Ukrainian and Belarusian Soviet Socialist republics, and they created an entity called the Commonwealth of Independent States, which overtook the Soviet Union, and they presented Gorbachev with this fait accompli and said, you have to leave now. So I think part of the problem was this was unplanned, it was chaotic, and this is why the new Russia emerged from this in such a fragile state.
He was quoted as saying, Angela, that Vladimir Putin was undoing the work of his life. Did Vladimir Putin ruin Mikhail Gorbachev's legacy?
Well, I think he did. I mean, the Soviet Union under Gorbachev, at least in the last 3 years of his tenure, was much freer than it is today. People had freedom of speech. They were examining the dark spots, if you like, in Soviet and Russian history. All of that's gone away. Gorbachev, as I said, released political prisoners. So Putin has really undone nearly everything that Gorbachev did. And what you're left is with, hopefully, a generation of people that remembers what it was like to be freer then, and a Russia that was looking more toward the West.
What did Gorbachev think of Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine?
Well, you know, he actually, he applauded the annexation of Crimea in 2014. But with this particular war, you know, he's been quite sick and he was in the hospital. So we didn't get any public pronouncements from him. We know that he had a very complicated relationship to Vladimir Putin, that he understood that the democracy he tried to create was gone. I doubt that he would have applauded the war that is now going on, that he would have supported something where so many thousands of Russians and Ukrainians have died.
Tell me more about his feelings about the annexation of Crimea, Angela. What did he say?
Well, he said, you know, like many Russians, that Crimea is Russian. That, of course, when he was the leader of the Soviet Union, Crimea was part of the Soviet Union. And for him, like many Russians, even westward-looking Russians, they believed that this was an essential part of the Russian state. And that's why he supported it. And as a large number of Russians who normally you would think about as being more Western looking and who travel to the West a lot, they still secretly, you know, always wanted this to become part of Russia again.